The sound hit first, a bright splintering crash that rattled the cheap linoleum and jumped up my bones. Porcelain splayed across the kitchen floor in chalky petals, and a smear of vanilla frosting and cinnamon clung to my bare toes. The fluorescent tube above me hummed, then flickered, then held. I did not move. My hands were dusted with flour, the veins on my knuckles swelling like cords under a thin glove of powder. Sloane stood very close enough that her coffee breath pressed warm against my cheek. She did not raise her voice. She did not need to. "That piece was for Caleb," she said. "I saved it for him." I looked at the slice already collapsing into the grout. The cinnamon in the frosting had perfumed the whole room. I had made pot roast. I had salad waiting in the fridge. I had not seen the sticky note. Sloane cocked her head, heavy lashes nails the shade of beige that costs extra. Is reading the labels too much now? My gaze drifted to the refrigerator. The door was a grid of rules. For us only, don't touch. Dinner after 7. My handwriting did not appear there. My handwriting was a ghost elsewhere on grocery lists, folded under a magnet shaped like a lemon. Caleb stepped into the doorway, shirt untucked, the crease between his brows deep as the cut in the plate. He looked at the floor, then at Sloane, then around me as if the kitchen had rearranged itself in his absence. "What happened?" he asked. Sloane did not take her eyes off me. "Your mom ate your cake." "It was a mistake," I said. "I thought it was for everyone." Sloane smiled without her eyes. "It is not a hospital cafeteria." Caleb's shoulders dropped. His voice came out thin, like a thread that might snap. "Mom, we have talked about this. The fridge. Please ask." The hum of the light grew louder. The cinnamon turned heavy in my nose. I rubbed my thumb over my palm to feel something other than humiliation. Flour made the motion slippery. Sloane took one step back, just enough to reach into the drawer by the stove. The drawer with the scissors, the measuring spoons, the pens. She pulled out a thick envelope and laid it on the table with a soft thump. A pen followed. She clicked it once. The sound clicked inside my ribs. "We cannot live like this," she said. "We have a solution. Simple. Clean. You sign, you find a place that fits you better, and all this tension stops choking the house." The envelope slid toward me. Release and voluntary departure. The words sat at the top of the first page, black and calm. There were boxes to initial. There were lines to put down parts of my name. Caleb stayed in the doorway, his hand on the frame. Splinters lifted along the white paint, and he pressed his thumb on one as if to keep it from curling. His eyes did not meet mine. They landed on the scattered porcelain. "You said you needed more space, Mom," he said. "This is probably best." The bowl of pot roast broth quivered on the counter. The steam from the rice rose in a lazy rope. I could hear water racing somewhere inside the walls, the dishwasher hiccuping near its end cycle. In the living room, the remote control had a new hiding place. Last week, I had found it in a shoebox under the couch. Sloane had laughed and said, "You know how things go missing around here." I lifted the first page. The paper felt cool. I read the lines that mattered and some that did not. Sloane's nails tapped the tabletop. The pen lay between us, blue cap metal clip. I looked at Caleb. "This house," I said, my voice steady, "your father and I bought it when you were 6. We finished paying it when you were 21. Caleb's mouth twitched. Sloane answered for him. "And then you transferred the deed like a generous mother. Thank you again. It is in Caleb's name now." She smiled. I could see a smear of lipstick on the rim of her mug. The mug had a picture of Lake Tahoe that I had bought for them on a day trip 2 summers ago. The picture had faded to a vague blue. Sloane lifted the pen and set it by my dominant hand. "Please," Caleb said, "let's not fight." I signed where it told me to sign. The pen clicked again when I uncapped it, and then when I capped it like the start of a stopwatch, and then the end. My handwriting wavered at the first letter and steadied by the last. The ink dried to a soft shine. Sloane stacked the pages. She slid them back into the envelope and sealed it with a neat press of her palm. When she lifted her hand, the glue left a faint tacky sound. She tucked the envelope under her arm and nodded. Caleb let out a breath that changed the air without clearing it. "I will make dinner plates," I said. "We are going out," Sloane said. "Caleb needs a quiet night." I cleaned the floor after they left. I knelt and gathered porcelain in careful handfuls, fitting the thicker curves together, just to see if they would recognize each other. Some edges made sense. Some refused. A small section where the pattern of blue ivy ran unbroken remained intact. I touched it with the pad of my finger, then slipped it into a plastic bag that had once held freezer burn warnings. I wiped the frosting from my toes with a dishcloth. The cinnamon had clung to my skin, sweet and stubborn. The cloth turned pink where the food dye bled. I rinsed it until the water ran clear. In the hallway, the thermostat showed 68. Sloan liked the house cold. On the corkboard, a swim school flyer overlapped an old notice for a neighborhood watch meeting. A weekly schedule sat in the center, written in Sloan's tidy block letters. 5 a.m. shower for Evelyn. No TV after 8. Please knock. My room had once been Caleb's office. A narrow bed, a thrifted dresser with a wobble on the bottom right drawer, a picture frame holding a photo of my husband at a barbecue laughing with a plastic fork in his hand. I set the bag of broken plate pieces in the top drawer on my socks. The plastic made a faint crackle. I sat on the bed and cupped my aching hands. The ache lived deep in both thumbs and the spaces between where the tendons ran like wires. In the dim room, the ache felt like another person, one who did not speak but refused to leave. There was an old sewing kit on the nightstand. The lid had a faded pattern of roses. Inside, spools of thread in odd leftover colors leaned together like tired neighbors. I threaded a needle, then put it down again. The thread looked too thin for the work I wanted. I closed the kit and placed my palm on it for a second, feeling the lid's shallow dents. The sound of a car door outside, 2 doors, then footsteps on the porch. A key turning, voices low. The smell of restaurant garlic riding the hall air, quick and rich and not for me. A laugh that wanted to be light, the clink of glass. I turned off my lamp and lay back. The ceiling had a hairline crack that ran from the vent to the corner. I followed it with my eyes until my eyes got tired. Somewhere in the dark, the refrigerator cycled, then stopped. The house settled with a sigh. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. The screen lit the room a pale blue. Harlan Cho's name filled the top line. He had been my husband's oldest friend and the only person who still called me Ev on purpose. "Can you come by in the morning? Found something in your file I want you to see." I stared at the words until they steadied. I typed back, "Yes, I will be there." I placed the phone face down on the sewing kit. The plastic bag in the drawer crackled when the night shifted and the house breathed. I closed my eyes. Morning light skated over the linoleum in a pale sheet. I rinsed my hands under water so cold my knuckles burned, pulled on a sweater, and left before the house found a reason to stop me. The air outside was sharp for Sacramento, a crispness that made the bus bench smell like damp iron. Downtown rose in blocks of glass and stone. Harlan's building had a brass directory and a carpet that hushed footsteps. His office felt like a different weather. Walnut paneling, a narrow window with the river glinting beyond the faint hiss of an espresso machine that took its time. He stood when I came in. He was shorter than my husband had been, steadier, with a careful kindness that did not lean. "You look tired, Ev," he said. "Sit, coffee." I nodded. The cup warmed my hands. He slid the envelope I had signed across the desk. "I read this twice last night," he said. 3 times this morning. There are problems. You were pressured, there were threats of eviction, and the timing is suspect. That gives me arguments to void it. There is more." He opened a file drawer, took out a thick folder with a Phoenix return address, and placed it between us. "This arrived 2 days ago from an attorney in Phoenix. Art Bennett's estate. He listed you as primary beneficiary." Air thinned around my face. My brother's name read like a memory I had not wanted to touch. Art had a laugh that used to fill rooms. In the last 10 years, that laugh had lived in other states then, in other people's stories. Harlan did not look away. "He passed last month," Harlan said softly. "Hart, he left you his holdings. Storage sites in Mesa and Tempe, a parcel near Goodyear Market, investments cash. The conservatively stated value rounds to $8 million. He waited. I heard the espresso machine give a small sigh. A siren far below Dopplered and faded. Harlan lifted a letter on top. It was in a hand I knew. My brother had always pressed too hard with the pen. I read the first lines and then the last. The words reached me with the simple weight of stones in a pocket. I set the letter down. My thumbs had gone white around my cup. "Keep this quiet for now," I said. "No calls to Caleb. No one." Harlan nodded. "Your choice." "I will need your help with something else," I said. "Today." He raised an eyebrow, then took out a legal pad, the yellow kind that holds decisions. He did not ask why. He rarely asked why. The drive back to Elk Grove took 20 minutes. The levee on the right held a long gray strip of water. My stop smelled faintly of tamales from the cart that set up on weekends. I walked home along a street of tidy lawns and 2-car garages. The house sat where it always had, pretending to be neutral. Sloan was in yoga pants at the kitchen island with a smoothie and a tablet. The smell of protein powder sweetened the air in a way that made my teeth ache. She barely tilted her chin. "You are out early," she said. "Errand," I said. She went back to her screen. The blender cup left a ring of condensation. The fluorescent light buzzed and steadied. I took a breath and felt it settle. That evening I waited until Caleb's shoes scuffed the entry tile. He looked worn, his tie loosened a circle of fatigue under each eye. Sloane had set out takeout boxes. I cut 2 pieces of cinnamon loaf I had baked that afternoon, the smell a soft rope in the room. "I need to ask a favor," I said. Sloane's fork paused. Caleb glanced up. "My friend Gloria Ortiz. I said her brother passed last month. He left her a small house in Oak Park, 2 bedrooms, a yard you could mow in 15 minutes. She wants to sell quickly. She said 20,000 if I can move fast. I have 5. I need 15. Sloane set her fork down, blinked once. Caleb's mouth opened and closed without landing on a word. "I would pay you back from my pension," I said. $300 a month. You would have your space. I would not be underfoot. It would be a kindness." Sloane's eyes sharpened. She glanced at Caleb, then at the cinnamon loaf, then at me. $300 a month is $3,600 a year, she said. In 5 years, that is 18,000. She did not need to say the rest. Caleb rubbed at the knot in his forehead. "Where would we get the 15, he said. "We do not have that sloshing around." "A home equity line," Sloane said. "The house has value. It is normal." Caleb looked at her with a kind of gratitude that always reached me as a bruise. He nodded slowly. "If we do this, Mom," he said, "the money has to go straight to the purchase. I want it clean." "I can meet Gloria at River City Title," I said. "They can hold the transfer. We can make sure every penny is recorded." Sloane's mouth twitched. Smart. We went to the bank the next afternoon. The lobby smelled like the color gray. Leather chairs that were not leather, a candy bowl with wrappers crinkling the steady throat of a copy machine. Caleb signed where the banker pointed. The man wore a watch too expensive for his suit. He typed Caleb's name with the bored authority of someone who holds keys for other people's doors. 15 will be available by morning, the banker said. HELOC tied to primary residence standard terms. Caleb nodded, cheeks a shade darker. He did not look at me. When he stood, the chair let out a small sigh. We walked 2 blocks to my credit union. He watched while the teller transferred the funds into my account. He handed me the deposit slip, his finger lingering on the embossed numbers, as if he could press them into a different shape. His face looked younger and more tired all at once. "Gloria is meeting you where," he said. "River City Title," I said. "She has the deeds." "I can take you." "I will be fine," I said. "It is 3 blocks. You should get to work." He hesitated, then nodded, then left at a near jog. I watched his shoulders round as he pushed through the heavy door. I took the light rail back downtown and crossed to Harlan's building. The elevator shook once at the start, then climbed with a hum. He had a stack of forms on his desk, neatly fanned, and a file jacket with a new label. "We will set up an entity," he said. "A clean name. Meridian Recoveries, LLC. Registered at a colleague's office in Fresno. We will open a business account. You will be the sole manager. We will also prepare a basic purchase packet for this Oak Park sale to explain the movement of funds. You will need signatures that look like a seller's. I have a title company contact who owes me favors. They can provide a conference room and a notary who asks fewer questions than most." He slid the forms toward me. The pen fit my hand as if it had been waiting. I signed my name 3 times, initialed 8 boxes, dated the corners. The paper tugged at the tip of the pen and released at a small friction that felt like decision. "Also this," he said, placing a business card on the desk. "Lionel Cruz, former detective, discreet. If you want information, he finds it." Lionel's office sat 3 floors up in a building that once housed a hardware store. The hall smelled of dust and old paint. His door had a frosted window that said Cruz Investigations in clean black font. Inside, a ficus tried to survive near a slatted blind. Lionel had a face like a cliff and hands that belonged to a careful man. "What do you need?" he said. "I need everything on Caleb Price and Sloane Mercer Price," I said. "Balances, rates, late fees, payment histories, how often the credit cards get paid, the car loan, the mortgage, who services it, whether they sell delinquent accounts, who they sell them to. I need names and addresses. I need patterns." He watched my face as I spoke, then reached into a drawer and pulled out a simple retainer agreement. I signed. He did not shake my hand. He nodded once and wrote the word urgent at the top of a legal pad. Back at Harlan's, the espresso machine gave one last gentle hiss. He had been printing. The printer laid sheets in a clean stack, the whir and soft clack marking each page. "These are notices," he said. "Templates. Assignment of debt, demand for payment, notice of acceleration, Meridian letterhead. We will not send anything without proper acquisition, but it is easier to have them ready." He pressed 3 envelopes closed with the heel of his hand. The paper was heavy and ivory that felt expensive. He held them out. I took them. They had weight that did not come from ink. In the hallway, the fluorescent tubes hummed like the ones at home, only warmer. The elevator took its time. I stood with the envelopes against my chest and listened to the faint rush of the river, the sound that lives under this city even when you forget it is there. On the bus, a child kicked the seat in front of him in a slow, thoughtful rhythm. His mother slept with her mouth open, a grocery list clutched in her hand. The envelopes rested on my lap. My fingers traced the raised M of Meridian. At the house, the air smelled like lemon cleaner. The weekly schedule on the corkboard had a new line in tidy block letters. Guest towels are for guests. The refrigerator light hit me in the face when I opened it. A sticky note with "For us only" sat on a carton of orange juice. The cinnamon loaf had been pushed to the back. Caleb texted at 5:38, "Hope it went smoothly. Let me know you are safe." I typed "I am home" and set the phone down. The pen Harlan had given me lay on my dresser, where I had left it metal cool under my fingers. I clicked it. The sound was quiet and final. I set the 3 envelopes side by side on the bedspread, their edges lined up like something measured. I put my palm on them for a beat, then slid them into the top drawer with the sewing kit and the bag of porcelain. The plastic crackled. The room held still. Down the hall, the mail slot rattled in a wind that had picked up. The flap knocked twice, then settled a small metallic knock in a house that pretended to be neutral. By noon, the sky had gone the color of a nickel. A breeze fussed with the oak's leaves, rasping like paper. Harlan called once a short update, then texted a photo of a stack of agreements clipped with a silver binder clamp. The edges made a clean block. I could almost hear the printer in his office issuing them one by one. Lionel met me in the lobby a little after 1. He wore a shirt that had seen better starch and carried a folder with a bulge that changed its shape when he turned. "Here," he said. "Banks, cards, auto mortgage servicer, and a home equity line opened yesterday. Balances, rates, servicing paths. Card portfolios often get sold to 2 outfits on my list. The car loan has bounced once between finance companies. The mortgage sits with a shop that packages delinquencies for private buyers when they smell weather." He slid a page forward. In the center, a simple chart walked month by month. Numbers migrated into the red like a tide that did not notice people. "Thank you," I said. Lionel nodded. He did not smile. He left without ceremony, a man who preferred results to pleasantries. Upstairs, Harlan had a wire form on the desk. The espresso machine hissed like something alive. He tapped the number I had memorized that morning and turned the screen to me for confirmation. 8 zeros looked back tidy and arrogant. He pressed the key, waited for the bank to sing its digital song, then handed me the pen. "Assignments are executed," he said. "Credit cards, car the equity line, and an option tied to the primary mortgage that allows acceleration if they miss a period or if a risk analysis warrants it. Meridian is the assignee. This is the consent for notices." I signed. The pen tip whispered against the paper. The metal clip flashed when I set it down. "Service goes out this afternoon," he said. "Messenger for 2, certified mail for 2. They will have both." I walked back to the light rail with my hands empty and my shoulders lighter in a way that had nothing to do with weight. The train windows showed the river in quick cuts between warehouses. My reflection rode beside me, a woman with flour still under her nails, a sweater buttoned wrong at the bottom, a face that held. At the house, the air conditioner thrummed. Sloane had a candle going on the island that smelled like a lemon that never lived on a tree. I could hear the dryer tumbling on low. She looked up, then down. At 3, a sharp knock sounded. Sloane wiped her hands and opened the door. A young man in a polo held out a tablet. The sunlight behind him made a bright wall. He checked the names, stylus ready. Sloane signed without reading, a crisp signature that cut upward at the end. He handed her 2 thick envelopes with weight and seals that bit into the paper. 30 minutes later, the mail slot clacked and 2 more hit the floor in dull thumps. She stacked them on the table like something combustible. Caleb came in at 6 with his tie balled in his fist. He saw the stack and went gray. "What are those?" he said. "Illegal," Sloane said. Her voice did not pick a temperature. Caleb tore the first. His lips moved as he read. His eyes found the line they were trained to fear. He opened the second. His hand shook by the third. "It says the balances were assigned," he said. "It says demand for full payment. It says acceleration." Sloane grabbed the fourth. "Who is Meridian Recoveries?" she said. "I have never heard of them." The fluorescent light gave one hard flicker, then steadied. I dried my hands and stayed where I was in the doorway between pantry and kitchen, as if that strip of linoleum could keep me from falling into whatever this was. Caleb dialed the number on the letter. He set it to speaker. A woman's voice answered with a calm that made my heart slow. She asked for verification. He gave it. She thanked him and placed him on a brief hold that had no music. "Mr. Miller," a man said when the line clicked again. Mr. Johnson with Meridian. I have your file. How can I help? I think there has been a mistake, Caleb said. We pay on time. We have never been late. I am looking at your history, Mr. Johnson said. I agree you have maintained scheduled payments. That is not the only metric. Our assessment includes future ability to meet obligations under normal and stressed conditions. We noted a home equity advance initiated yesterday. We noted credit utilization approaching limits. We noted a monthly gap between income and expenses that appears to be filled with short-term debt. Caleb closed his eyes. We can manage, he said. We have managed. I respect your intentions, Mr. Johnson said. Our risk model does not read intentions. It reads patterns. The assignments are valid. Demands are lawful. You have 30 days. After that, we exercise remedies available under each agreement. What remedies? Sloan asked, voice tight. On unsecured accounts, suit and collection. On secured accounts, repossession in the case of the vehicle. On the equity and mortgage acceleration and foreclosure if terms permit. We prefer cooperation. We accept certified funds and wire transfers. A payment schedule can be discussed for certain instruments subject to approval. Sloan cut the call. She stood very still, both hands flat on the table. When she moved, it was as if gravity had changed by a degree. You should not have taken the line, she said to Caleb. We knew we were tight. You said it was normal, he said. You said it was smart. You did the math on the napkin and told me it was a good deal. It was before this, she said. Before this company invented a storm. I stepped forward and set a plate on the island because my hands wanted a job. The plate held slices of the cinnamon loaf from yesterday. The smell rose and softened the air. Sloan looked at the plate as if it were a joke she did not understand. I have an idea, I said. Caleb's head snapped toward me. He looked smaller than my memory allowed. I can stay here and give you my entire pension each month, I said. 300. You apply it to the equity line. It will take time. Or you can find 15 and put it back. That would quiet one fire. Sloan let out a sound that was not laughter. You signed to leave, she said. You cannot stay. The paper assumed I had housing, I said. That premise is not true. Caleb's hand found his forehead. He pressed his palm to the spot he rubbed when he was 10, and trying to keep tears from making it to his eyes. Where would we find 15, he said. The cards are tapped. The car is upside down. I could ask my boss for an advance, but they do not do that. Sloan stared at the envelopes as if she could alter them with force. We cut spending, she said. We sell the second TV, we sell the good set of knives, we move cash. It will not be enough, Caleb said. The mortgage sits there like a mountain. If they can pull a trigger because of a model, they will. The room forgot to be warm. The cinnamon cooled on the plate. The HVAC clicked and sent out a breath of air that did not seem to reach anyone. I picked up a piece of porcelain from my pocket, a medium shard with a curve of blue ivy hole across it. I did not mean to have it in my pocket. I had taken it out earlier to see if two edges would greet each other. They had not. I slipped the shard back into my sweater. The plastic bag in the drawer would be better out of view safe. I will call in the morning, Caleb said. I will ask for a plan. They said plans can exist. Sloan nodded without looking at him. She picked up one of the letters and folded it along the lines as if neatness could reduce danger. The fold made a satisfying sound. She set it down again. The crease held. I went to my room and lifted the top drawer. The envelopes from Harlan lay under the sewing kit. I slid my hand under them until my fingers found the plastic bag. The pieces rattled. I held the bag to the light. Cracks and bright edges, a thin triangle, an oval curve, a center that still carried the blue ivy without interruption. The pieces were what they were. They did not pretend. When I sat, my phone buzzed. Harlan again. Assignment confirmations attached, he wrote. Notices served. Expect contact from the other side. I typed thank you and turned the phone face down. The house made old house sounds through the evening. The toddler next door laughed and then cried and then slept. A helicopter passed low and pushed the blinds out a tremble. The river smell rode the wind as it sometimes did, a wet metallic breath that found the open crack at the window. Near midnight, raised voices filtered through the wall. Sloane's voice had edges. Caleb's tried to smooth them and failed. Words like cell and court and how hovered and then fell. A drawer closed harder than necessary. Water ran in the hall bathroom long after no one needed it. I turned on the lamp and opened the sewing kit. The lid creaked. Inside, the small pair of scissors winked under the bulb. The spools leaned some too old to be useful. I palmed the thimble and set it on the dresser like a small helmet. The room smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and dust and the loaf I had baked. When I switched the lamp off the ceiling, crack found its line again. I followed it with my eyes until the dark reached a softer gray. Outside, the mail slot clicked in the wind. The metal made two sounds, then quiet. The house breathed. Rain came in hard and clean, a straight fall that made the sidewalk shine. The gutters gurgled. Street lights smudged halos on the wet. I set soup on the stove because warmth felt like a tool. Tomato thick with cream, a shake of pepper, a whisper of cinnamon in the bread cooling on the rack. The house took the smell and let it hang. Caleb dropped his keys in the bowl by the door and missed. They skittered, clanged, stopped against the baseboard. He crouched, picked them up, stood slower than he should have at his age. Sloane moved like glass. She set out bowls with the careful angles of someone stacking steaks. We ate without words at first. Spoons touched ceramic. Rain ticked on the kitchen window and then decided to drum. Caleb looked at the window the way people look at a fire. Sloane watched him look. When the bowls were empty, I cleared them and wiped the counter with a cloth that smelled faintly of lemon. I dried my hands, felt the ache sit in both thumbs, and placed 2 envelopes on the island. They were heavier than paper should be. The flap glue had dried into a firm line. Caleb stared at the envelopes as if they might contain an animal. Sloane did not sit. She leaned, arms braced a stance that let her spring. "What is this?" she said. "Documents," I said, "for you to read." I slid the first envelope open and put the contents on the counter. Phoenix letterhead. A notary stamp dark and round in the corner. Art's name in full, and under it, mine letters marching like a row of fence pickets. I watched recognition work across Caleb's features. He touched the paper with the back of his fingers as if combing a burn. Artie said. It came out of him low, almost private. He read. His lips moved the way they had when he was 7, when words were stones he placed carefully. When he finished, he did not speak. He lifted his eyes to me and blinked like a man who had stepped out of strong sun. Sloane reached across, pulled the second envelope toward her, opened it with a quick slice of a nail. The top sheet said assignment of accounts in restrained font. The next page had a list account numbers cut into blocks by black boxes, balances printed in numbers that thickened the page. Meridian Recoveries at the top in sharp type. "What is this?" she repeated, but without the tilt in her voice. "Transfers," I said. "Credit cards, the car, the home equity, and an instrument tied to the mortgage that lets the holder call for full payment if the terms are not met, or if risk is assessed. Meridian holds them." "Who is Meridian?" Caleb asked. His voice was steady. His face was not. I set the final page down. The manager's signature sat in blue ink. The name under it was mine. The title was simple. Managing Member, Meridian Recoveries, LLC. Sloane's mouth opened. No sound. The rain gave the window a fresh line of water, and it traveled down in a clean lane. Caleb looked from the line to the page and back as if there were an answer in the way liquid behaved. "You bought our debt," Sloane said. No color in her voice. "Yes," I said. With what she said, I do not understand. I tapped the Phoenix letter. Art left me what he built. 8 million, Caleb said. The number fit strangely in the small room. He read the line again and again, then set the paper down as if it might move on its own. Sloane closed her eyes and opened them. "You did this to us," she said. I set my palms flat on the island. The laminate was cool. The seam near the edge had lifted and caught on the pad of my left hand. "I did this for me," I said. Sloane started to laugh. It was a quick, hard sound. "It died fast. You tricked us. You made up a house. You took money we do not have. You pulled strings. You dressed it up with stamps. The money you gave me is in an account," I said. "It did not go to a house. It went to paper. The paper is yours to read." Caleb put his hands on his hips and then took them off the way men do when they are searching for a place to rest. He stepped back from the counter and then forward again. The rain softened for a breath and then doubled. "What happens now?" he said. I took a breath and counted once, twice, letting my voice find the simplest path. 2 choices, I said. The first is the terms in those letters. Demand in full. Foreclosure if triggers fire, repossession, garnishment. It is ugly. It is legal. Sloane's throat worked. She did not speak. The second, I said, is a plan. You pay me $1,000 each month for 10 years, on time. No late fees if paid before day 5. I hold all assignments. I do not call the mortgage. You keep the roof. You rebuild. Caleb set his hands on the edge of the island. His knuckles went white. 1,000, he said. We can breathe around that. It would be tight. We could breathe. Sloane stared at the papers as if they were a deck of cards she had never learned. 1,000 to you, she said. Every month. You stay here and watch us hand it over. I am not staying, I said. This house makes my hands cold, but I will come check the numbers in the air. Sloane's eyes cut to mine. The candle on the island pushed out an invented lemon. The real lemon I had zested for the soup lay balled on the board. You get rules too, I said. No names under breath. No notes on food like warnings. I have access to see the property I am secured by. I am treated as a person. You are treated as people. We speak like we can hear." Caleb nodded before Sloane could answer. He nodded like someone who had been waiting to nod for years. He put a hand to his mouth and pressed, then dropped it. "I'm sorry," he said. The words were small and heavy, about the paper, about all of it. Sloane looked at him as if apology were a currency she had never used. Her face changed by degrees. She did not say the word. She bent at the waist and lowered herself into a chair, then sat without touching the backrest. "I need to understand the details," she said. "Where to send, how to market, what happens if 1 month eats the next." "There will be a schedule," I said. "You will get it in writing. Due date, grace days, contact for questions. If you miss, the amounts shift to what the original instruments demand. I will not like it. You will not either." A silence settled that felt earned. The rain smoothed into a steady curtain. The HVAC hummed and stopped. Somewhere a neighbor's dog barked at the wrong time. Caleb picked up the soup pot and carried it to the sink. He rinsed. He set bowls in the rack. He did not look for a cloth. He used his hands. Sloane's fingers found the pen I had placed near the envelopes and clicked it once. The sound sat between us. She clicked it again and set it down as if the object had burned. The blue cap shone under the kitchen light. I pulled the small zip bag from my pocket and set it next to the papers. The largest piece of the plate lay on top the curve of blue ivy and tacked the crack line clean and honest. "Keep this," I said. "You broke it. It is yours." Sloane did not reach. Caleb did. He lifted the bag with both hands and looked at the piece as if it could instruct him. He set it down carefully, less a bag than a creature left to recover. "We agree," he said. "It was not a question. We pay." Sloane looked at him, then at me, then at the window where the rain did its work on cheap glass. She nodded once. "Fine," she said. I took a folder from my tote and set it on the counter. The folder had tabs. The tabs had typed labels, payment plan, inspection right, communication. I touched each tab as I spoke, then slid the folder toward Caleb. He opened it. His eyes moved like a man reading a map in a storm. "You will get the formal copies tomorrow," I said. "Signed and notarized. I prefer dinner to be about dinner." Caleb's laugh was short and did not lift anything. "We can try that," he said. Sloane stood. She went to the sink, washed her hands, dried them on the dish towel that was supposed to be for guests. She folded the towel on the bar the way she likes it, corners aligned. "When do the payments start?" she asked without turning. 30 days, I said. "The invoice will say the date." She nodded. She stayed facing the sink. Water tapped the steel, then the tap ran clear. I gathered the Phoenix letters and slipped them back into their envelope. Caleb watched the motion as if worried I might change my mind. I put the envelope back on the counter in the same place and left it there. When I left the kitchen, the hallway felt warmer. The corkboard had a new line in Sloane's block letters. "Replace guest towel." I looked at it until the letters blurred, then looked away. In my room, I opened the top drawer and took out the sewing kit. I set it on the bed and lifted the lid. The rose pattern had faded to a memory of a rose. The metal thimble waited where I had left it. I placed it on my finger and pressed against the pad until the pressure registered. The bag of pieces rested alongside. I lifted 2 shards and tried them against each other. They did not fit. I put them down and tried 2 others. These met with a click you could barely hear. The rain softened and drifted to a stop without announcing it. The house made a new sound as the gutters decided whether to keep talking. I clicked the pen once and wrote my name on a blank page. The ink bloomed. It held. I washed my face in cool water and dried it with a towel that had lost its soft some months ago. When I stepped back into the hall, the kitchen was clean. The candle burned lower. The bowls sat where bowls sit when people plan to use them again. I walked to the front door and checked the lock out of habit. The deadbolt turned with a precise internal click. The mail slot rattled once in a small leftover wind. In the living room, the remote lay where it belonged on the coffee table near the TV, not in a box under a couch. Caleb had placed it there. His handprint was in the dust beside it, a pale oval that said a hand had pressed down. In bed, my palms found each other like old friends. The ache in my thumbs pulsed and then quieted. Traffic on the boulevard thinned. A late siren sighed and moved away. The line in the ceiling was still there. My eyes followed it, then closed when they were ready. Sun angled over the foothills and laid a bright stripe across my kitchen table. The air in Auburn had a clean pine bite that woke the inside of my nose. A kettle clicked off. Rebecca set down a plate with French toast and a small dish of cinnamon butter. She worked quietly, a woman who understood rooms. "Anything else, Mrs. Price?" she said. "This is perfect," I said. Her smile was simple. When she left, I sat with the coffee and watched the steam lift in thin threads. The house was different from Elk Grove in all the ways that mattered, and some that did not. The floors did not complain. The window glass held a view of dark firs and a slice of blue beyond them. On the far wall, a glass cabinet waited in its new place. Mail came mid-morning. The box held a glossy fundraiser booklet, a flyer for a tree service, and a flat envelope from Meridian with numbers I tracked now like weather. I ran a finger under the flap and eased out the ledger. The line for payment plan price household showed 6 entries. Each line read paid, then cleared dates, then the note on time. I set the sheet down. In the quiet, I could hear a hawk somewhere high and economical. At noon, I drove toward the river to sign documents with Harlan. His office smelled like the same espresso and wool. He had drafts for the 2 small grants I had established in spring. The names sat neat on letterhead: Kintsugi Fund, Sewing Room Collective. We checked the details. He did not ask for a speech. I did not offer one. He slid me a new pen with a subtle blue barrel. The click felt exact. "Caleb sent me a thank you note," Harlan said as he stacked copies. It was handwritten. I pictured my son at the table in Elk Grove, shoulders curved, choosing words out of a tired day. "He has been steady," I said. "Steady is a good word," Harlan said. On my way home, the river ran full brown with snowmelt, though the sky was clear. I stopped at a nursery and bought a rose bush with deep red buds. The tag said Mr. Lincoln. The woman at the counter rang it up with dirt under her nails and chipped blue polish. Soil and gasoline layered the afternoon. Later, I parked by the curb in Elk Grove and walked up the short path to the house that had been mine, and then not, and was now mine again by a different line. The grass had rough patches where the sprinkler missed. The porch mat said, "Welcome" in script that had faded to a suggestion. I knocked. The sound traveled through wood I knew. Caleb opened the door and stood with his hand on the knob, relief and effort moving across his face in quick intervals. He looked thinner across the cheeks. His shirt was clean. He stepped back. "Come in, Mom," he said. Sloane appeared from the kitchen, hair pulled up, no gloss on her mouth. She nodded. "Do you want coffee?" she asked, tone flat and careful. "Water would be fine," I said. The kitchen was neat the way people are neat when neatness keeps the day from fraying. A list on the corkboard had lines that read "Lunches from home" and "Light off by 9. The guest towels were folded on the bar that used to be for guests. The remote lived on the coffee table, not hidden. I saw Caleb notice that I had noticed, and something like shame and pride shared his face for a second. We sat. I opened a folder and slid a statement across. 6 for 6, I said. "Thank you." Caleb nodded. He rubbed the heel of his hand over his eyebrow. "I picked up a night shift at the warehouse," he said. "It is quiet. It helps." Sloane set my water down and kept her hand on the counter. "I got the job at the dental clinic," she said. "Phones insurance calls people who are rude when they are afraid." She paused. "I took in a hem for Mrs. Huang down the street last week. I had to rip it out and do it again. I did it again." Her eyes met mine and did not skitter away. The dishwasher hummed. Somewhere a neighbor's mower started, then stalled, then caught. "I would like to say something," she said. I waited. "I was cruel," she said, the words small and hard to get out. "I thought control could make me safe. I made this house unpleasant for you. Thank you for not making it worse than it needed to be." I looked at her hands. The nails were short and clean. The beige polish was gone. "You are keeping the place," I said. It was not praise, it was a fact. She nodded. "We are trying." We walked the rooms together. Meridian required inspection, and that meant more than glancing at gutters. The bathroom smelled like cheap soap and new caulk. The walls in the hallway had a fresh coat that covered last summer's scuffs. In the small room that had been mine, and before that, his office, the wobble in the dresser had been fixed with a felt pad and a flat coin. The bed lay bare and tidy. The top drawer still caught a little at the end. At the kitchen table, I took out a small box wrapped in white tissue and set it between us. Sloane peeled the paper back. Inside lay the plate repaired. Lines of gold ran the breaks, a map of where pressure had found the weak, and someone had chosen to make the repairs visible. The blue ivy still curved true across the center. "It is for the cabinet in my house," I said, "but I brought it here once." Sloane's fingertip hovered over one seam and then did not touch. Caleb let out a breath and smiled without showing teeth. He closed the box and tied the string in a tight square knot. On Sunday, Caleb called. His voice had mourning in it. "Can you come for lunch?" he said. "I am making chili. Sloane is making cornbread. On one condition," I said. "If my name turns into a complaint in this house, the plan ends." "It will not," he said. "I am serious," I said. "So am I," he said. I brought a salad with oranges and fennel. The cornbread had a sweet crust. The chili was too salty, though no one remarked on it. We ate at the table with the blinds open. Sun made narrow patterns on the floor. The dog next door scratched at the fence and wagged at a bird only he could see. After I rinsed bowls. Sloane reached for the towel and then paused. "Go sit," she said. "You are not the help." The words hung awkward and honest. I sat. Caleb put 3 peppers in a bag for me from the plant in the yard. He wrote a note on the corkboard in clean block letters. "Sunday call Mom." It remained there when I left. At home, Rebecca set out tea with a slice of something she had baked that morning. The cabinet glass held the plate at eye level. The gold lines caught the low light and answered it. I stood in front of it for a long minute and counted 3 places where the seams met and made a small star. The garden had taken the rosebush well. I planted it along the fence that week and watched it throw off new leaves like a happy animal. Dirt clung under my nails even after I scrubbed. In the study, I opened a fresh notebook and wrote a title in the corner, "A Slice of Justice." The pen Harlan had given me moved smooth and sure. I clicked it and felt the click in the bones of my hand. Evening settled in with the sound of wind through pine and a far road soft as breath. Somewhere down the hill, a child tried to whistle and could not yet. I walked the rooms, turned off lamps, set the deadbolt. The house sighed in the way old houses do when they are pleased with their day. I lay down and placed my hands palm to palm. The ache in my thumbs did not bark as loud. The ceiling had no crack to follow, only a clean white and a small moth that had found the light and waited. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. If this story resonated with you or made you reflect, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next story.